Well, according to an official proclamation by President Biden, today is Transgender Day of Visibility. And in that proclamation, the president declared that transgender Americans shape our nation's soul. Wow. Of course, even as the Biden administration barrels ahead, pushing transgender treatments and surgeries for children, there is a growing body of evidence that confirms that all these procedures are what we deeply know, they're harmful. They don't even match the science that goes along with it. And we're seeing that reflected in legislatures all across the country as they introduce and actually pass legislation to protect children from these procedures. Well, joining me now to discuss this and more is Travis Weber. He's the Vice President for Policy and Government Affairs here at FRC. Travis, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Thank you, Jody. Good to be here.
Well, let me just throw this out here because I want to kind of connect some dots between what we've been talking about and where we're going now. And you and myself and some others were briefly discussing this morning, but it seems so often when there is a major news item like we have now with the Trump indictment, that behind the scenes there is a push for something else. It can be very destructive. And we as Christians need to be aware of that. We need to be alert. And it could be that that's happening even right now while we're seeing this Trump indictment, that behind the scenes there's this push for the Transgender Day of Visibility and other stuff going behind it. Give me your initial thoughts to this, and let's just segue into our discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think it's so important for Christians, Americans, but Christians in particular. We're addressing the need for discernment in how we take in information and news, because we all know that there is too much information out there to take in. So many people may struggle with, what do I even focus on? So I think, as we were talking, I just think it's an important starting point to realize that there's a need for discernment, because we only have limited, our time and our bandwidth and our ability to take in is limited. So we just need to pray for discernment, exercise discernment, and realize that there is often more information, more developments, more going on behind the scenes than we may see in the headlines. And that's why, here at FRC, what we're trying to do is help bring light, bring awareness to what's going on behind the scenes.
All right, so let's just go in specifically with that foundation being laid, this whole Transgender Day of Visibility. Give me just your initial reactions in terms of our need to be aware and discerning of what's going on behind the smoke.
So, Jody, the president and others are making a lot about a lot of public pronouncements. There's a lot of attention being focused on the community of those who are identifying as transgender, and a lot of discussion around that issue. So there is a public piece to this, public component, but we want to observe what is going on at a deeper level. And certainly there is trauma, as we noted this week, tragedy and trauma, and shown in the shooting that occurred in Tennessee. There are tragedies like this occurring, and a lot of difficulty that is, and a lot of harm and pain that is being felt by those both in the LGBT community, in the transgender identifying community, and those connected to them. And so that's a reality. But the truth is that solace and help and healing is not to be found in affirming those with gender dysphoria, those who want to live and identify as the opposite biological sex. We need to actually get these people real help and real treatment, not just affirm the feeling. And so it's encouraging to see Americans recognizing that reflected in states around the country as people push back through their elected officials, and we see a wave of states that are saying no. A no to these procedures, irreversible surgeries, puberty blockers, hormone treatments being given to minors. People are saying no, and states are signing these, seeing these passed into law and signed into law at a really encouraging level. The numbers up way over last year. Last year we had one bill passed into law. The year before that there was one in Arkansas. Last year's was in Alabama. This year we've seen 9 bills signed into law. and over 100 that have moved throughout state legislatures this year. Now, some of these bills are watered down and weakened, but overall, the momentum is very encouraging to see people recognizing the lie of transgender ideology and standing up to it.
Yeah, I think that's exciting news, and I'm sitting here, Travis, just smiling as you're talking about this. I think this is fantastic news for us to take in, that while we are being fed so many lies. In fact, while you were even talking there, I couldn't help but think here, on the very week that we have a woman who identifies as a transgender man going in murdering 6 Christians, including 3 children, at the same time, the left is talking about there are unprecedented attacks on transgender individuals. I mean, it's just unbelievable to me. So we're being fed this constant diet of misinformation, and yet across the country, we're seeing legislatures step up, taking strength and standing for truth and passing some really strong, maybe some perhaps watered down, but overall some strong legislation. The momentum is building. No, we certainly can talk about that. How do we keep it going?
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. So people need to let their elected officials know that they appreciate them standing up for the rights of children against these, really attacks on children. I mean, it's interesting we use the word attacks because the other side does it. It's the language is, whenever you see language that is so obviously blown out of proportion, that should be a sign of desperation. So when we see these claims of attacks, violence, and similar hyperbolic wording, we know the truth is probably closer to a perspective, a worldview perspective being moved and advanced in policy. And the irony, the sad irony, is the opposite of true. Children are being attacked by an ideology that is forcing them to these harmful procedures. They need to be protected by parents, teachers, and elected leaders. And so Americans, families, parents out there who agree with this, they can let their elected leaders know that they appreciate their stance in defense of children. This is crucial that we continue to do this into the months and even years ahead.
Absolutely. Travis, we've got about 30 seconds, and I'm going to shift on, but there's got to be a lot of pressure on various legislatures and individuals moving this type of legislation forward. Are there any that just kind of jump out in your mind, individuals who are standing strong, being real champions in spite of the pressure?
Yeah, so those leaders moving this bill through the Montana legislature, now it's on the governor's desk out there. There's a bill, and also Nebraska Bill 574. Senator Kathleen Kauth moving that bill, championing it, and continuing to. We want to see her supported in her effort to see that bill pass through that state and be signed into law there. So these and others deserve our support.
Travis Weber, thank you so much for joining us on Washington Watch. Thanks for the incredible job that you do.
Thank you.